Hi there. I'm so excited to be joined by Monica Arietta this morning. Thank you so much for joining me to talk about the laws program, Monica.
Thanks for having me, Ani. I'm really happy to be here.
So we're going to get into your story because I want to give people an inside look into the laws program and how it actually works. But real quick, how was the laws program for you?
Loved it. It was really awesome.
Great. I'm so glad. So let's explore a little bit about your story and how living the laws helped open things up for you. So tell us a little bit about what your life looked like when you started the Living the Laws program.
Yeah, so I was actually just coming off the back of finishing SBMC, so level 2. When we started in January, I graduated in March. So I was most of the way through the program at that point, and also really getting a lot of clarity around what my purpose was and what I wanted to do with my life, something I'd been struggling with for a really, really long time. And so I knew that after SBMC was done, I really wanted to just figure out how I was going to be able to leave my corporate job. I've been in corporate, big business, Fortune 500 companies pretty much my entire career. And I'd been struggling to really find my place there. I didn't really know what my purpose was or what kind of impact I wanted to have, and wasn't really finding a career that I connected with in the way that I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And through the process of really going through the SBMC program and really understanding my purpose and what my soul was really born to do, it became clear to me that corporate America was not going to be in my career path for much longer. I just didn't really know the timing of when I was going to be able to leave. It felt impossible to me at the time because I didn't really see a path for me to be able to replace my income in the way that I needed to so that I could leave my job.
Right. And you had tried to leave your job or did leave your job years ago and it was rocky, right? So you had that kind of worry as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah, I'd actually tried twice to leave corporate America, and I ended up going back because I couldn't really figure out a path to stay.
Mhm.
Originally, it was because I wanted to stay at home and be a stay-at-home mom with my kids,
Yeah.
and as things kind of progressed and my kids got a little older, I was like, gosh, I really want to figure out where, like, what my purpose is and how I can make an impact in the world. And so it was very clear that I wanted to leave corporate. I just didn't. I was really struggling with how.
How, yeah, as you're talking, one of the things that the laws do is it does help us to find our purpose and it helps us to actually get out of how and ask better questions. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about the challenges you were facing in being able to leave because it sounds like you wanted to leave for a long time. It sounds like you had some false starts. So what were you up against in terms of being able to leave and have your freedom and your purpose?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. I mean, just in our household, my husband had left his corporate job a couple of years earlier to start his own business, and things were going really well for him. But separately for me, there was a lot of fear coming up, like a lot of fear, and it felt overwhelming, and it felt like I was climbing Mount Everest. And I would get a little bit of momentum, and I would get excited about what the future would hold, but then it felt like I was going to hit a wall,
Hmm.
and I was having a hard time figuring out how to get over the wall. So I
Hmm.
would hit the wall, and then I would be like, oh, I must be doing it wrong. This isn't working. And I would stop. And that was the pattern that I had been in my the previous 2 times I had tried to leave corporate. There was all
Uh-huh.
this excitement around the idea of leaving. And then I would leave, and then I would basically feel like I'd hit a wall and then feel like a
Mhm,
failure and
mhm,
then crawl my way back to corporate.
right. We would call that resistance to change, and it comes in so many forms, right? It comes in the feelings that we feel and the thoughts that we think. It comes in the outside circumstances that we don't know how to overcome. And for you, how long had you been thinking maybe corporate wasn't right for you? Like years?
It had been years, but prior to starting with the Somatic Coaching Academy, I had kind of made my peace with it to an
Uh-huh.
extent.
Okay, yeah.
And through the process of really uncovering what my purpose was, like staying in the job that I was in just wasn't in alignment with that. And
Mhm.
so the struggle has been ongoing, I would say, on and off for about 15 years.
Yeah, yeah, it's really interesting how when we struggle with something for a long time, these long held patterns, they can just start to reconfirm themselves in our subconscious mind. So, a lot of times people just say, just do it. you want to leave your job, just do it. Can you talk a little bit about how that just do it kind of idea wasn't going to be something that worked for you?
Yeah, and I did operate under that kind of just do it for the first time that I left,
Hmm.
to try to start a business, and it didn't work out. And I think for me, what I've learned is that because my patterns have been so sticky, right? They've been so deeply ingrained in my subconscious that
Yeah.
the idea of thinking my way into the just do it sort of mentality just wasn't working, because it would work for a little while, and it would be that kind of initial excitement, and then once I would start to do something hard or
Yeah.
something that I hadn't done before, I would hit that wall really quickly, and then I wouldn't understand how to get on the other side of it, and
Yeah.
I would tell myself all kinds of stories about how I wasn't built for this. See, it shouldn't be this hard. I'm doing it wrong.
Right.
Like I'm a failure. All kinds of thoughts and stories around the resistance and the why it wasn't in my mind working the way that I thought it was going to.
Yeah, yeah. So we talk about the difference between a breakthrough and a transformation, and those breakthroughs have a lot of energy behind them. And we're like, yeah, I can do this, or we do something. But then the challenges come after, and we start to reconfirm why we shouldn't and why it isn't working. Can you speak a little bit to how knowing the laws has helped you to navigate that resistance?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we talk about pretty early on in the program is the idea of how resistance works in the subconscious mind. Because I had always told myself this story: once I hit the wall of overwhelm, I'm doing it wrong. Something's wrong with me. I'm not doing it correctly.
Right.
And what I learned in the laws class is that I'm not doing it incorrectly. I'm not regressing. I'm not going backwards. I'm just at a point of resistance. And that's
Yeah.
actually a really good sign, because it means I'm getting closer to
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
And the other fascinating thing too for me was the closer we actually get to our intention, the more we're going to feel that resistance. It's going to feel like it's coming, like a wildfire, and that's what it felt like for me. So
Yeah.
just the shift in perspective of knowing I wasn't doing it wrong, there wasn't something wrong with me. It's not that I'm not where I need to be. It's just I've hit a wall, and then I'm going
Yeah.
to hit another one, and then they're going to keep coming until I finally get to where it is that I want to go, and the change that I want to make.
Yeah.
And that knowing that I wasn't doing it wrong and knowing what to expect a little
Yeah.
bit along the way was really helpful for me to keep going and not give up.
Yeah, yeah. It reminds me of somebody who's like walking down the road to where they want to go and then they turn around. And then they're
Right.
walking down the road to where they want to go and they turn around. And like we see it all the time when clients come into a program like Living the Laws, because they've been going down the road and turning around so many times. They just don't know that there's something different. So
Right.
Um, for you, what was that point where you were basically like with that metaphor, deciding not to turn around anymore? You were talking about how you started to understand that the resistance meant you were even closer. So there was a really interesting point I remember with you where it was kind of like this turnaround point, or we call it an enlightened opportunity, where
Mhm.
it almost felt like you were on the precipice of the change, but
Yeah.
it it wasn't super obvious for you. You needed some support to see the opportunity in disguise. Can you tell us a little bit about what actually happened so that we can understand?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the beginning of the program, we talked about setting intentions, and really what the goal or what the difference was between a goal and an intention. And that was really helpful discussion for me. And intentions being a little bit more broad, right, in nature, they're not so prescriptive. So I set this intention at the beginning of the program that I wanted to be able to live into my purpose and to go to bed every night knowing that I made a difference in someone's life, right? And I
Yeah, I
also
love
knew that
that.
right? I
Yeah.
also knew that I didn't want to be in my corporate job forever. Like that was out there, but I didn't really set any specific intentions around that.
Yeah.
And so through the program, as we were working, things were changing with my corporate employer, and 2 months ago, 3 months ago, they made an announcement that they were going to have to reduce their workforce by about 15%. And this is a very large corporation that I worked for, and that they were offering voluntary severance packages for people who wanted to leave. And initially, when the announcement was made, I I was like, oh, well, I can't possibly, I can't possibly put in for that. Right.
Right.
Like but I went to all the information sessions to figure out like what the severance package looked like. And, I got all the information, and there was something in me that felt, oh, no, I don't know if this is the right time for me to leave. I haven't really built my business up to the point where I feel like I can like leave and it'll feel comfortable, and I've
Right.
got this all figured out. And
Right.
so I remember coming to the laws program with this opportunity that I didn't really see as an opportunity at the time. And I don't remember exactly what you said to me, but you were like, could this potentially be, I don't know, maybe an enlightened opportunity? I don't know. And I thought about it for a second. And the laws program is so great because you guys all give us is there a somatic charge associated with it? Like, do you have to give something up? I mean, there's all these sort of questions that we can ask to really understand whether it is an enlightened opportunity or not. And wouldn't you
Yeah.
know, it checked almost every single one of those boxes.
Right.
And once that reframe kind of came into my conscious mind, I started to really see it as an enlightened opportunity. And it was so interesting because it was not how I thought that was going to work out. I knew
Ah,
I was going to leave my corporate job.
yeah.
I did not expect that my company was going to lay off 15% of its workforce and offer
Right.
voluntary severance packages. And that was going to be
Yeah.
the open door for me to be able to leave.
Yeah. And a pretty damn good one too. Like, it was a
Mhm.
pretty damn good package. It is
Yeah.
always interesting as we're working with our intentions and opportunities. I mean, people want to know how to take advantage of opportunities, but the reality is almost every single time, 95% of the time, they come in a way that we don't recognize, especially when they're on that new vibrational frequency. And it does require some support. I've helped a number of the laws program clients to be able to see, do you think that might be an enlightened opportunity? And when they go through the worksheet and they do the check, 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 like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
yours was such a great example of that. So I'm curious, as you know, we're winding up the year on living the laws. What's a strategy specifically that you are going to take and you are going to use after the program's over?
Oh gosh. There's so many because the laws are so powerful, and I feel like it's a lifelong pursuit of learning how to live
Yeah.
in those spaces and to continue to prove them. So I think for me, the strategy is really just the awareness that I have now of how the laws work and
Hmm.
how I can use them to be able to achieve whatever it is that I have in front of me. Knowing that I can trust them, that they're true and that they're real and that they're not going to change.
Yeah.
That to me, I think has been um,
Huge, right?
it's given me a lot of comfort
Yeah.
to know that I can rest in them in that way, and because I've seen them work the way that I have this year and I've continued to prove them,
Yeah.
it gives me a lot of comfort knowing that whatever the next step is in my journey, that I've got some solid ground that I can stand on.
Totally. People ask us all the time, how can I trust myself better? And my
Mhm.
answer is trust the laws. Like, honestly, we don't know if we can trust ourselves. Our subconscious is all mixed up with all of our desires and our blueprint for success. We call it our acorn, like the things that we're meant to do in the world, and all of the conditioning that we've been brought
Mhm.
up with in our society. Like, it's a mess in there. And so, we can trust the laws. And I'm loving that you're talking about being able to lean into trusting the laws as you lead the program, because as you do that and you do keep expanding your learning and integration with them, like anything's possible. And we always have something we can rest in, which is such a relief.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us what's different in your life now. Freedom, impact, what's different?
Yeah. I mean, so many things. It's so interesting because coming into the Somatic Coaching Academy, I mean, I that was a hell yes for me, and that was the first time that I think in my life I really felt it that quickly, of a yes, whole body yes. And so saying yes to the laws class was easy for me
Mm.
because I'd already had kind of an experience with y'all that was life changing. So
Yeah.
it's been a huge turnaround for me. I am living my life in alignment with my purpose for the first time in forever. And that feels really, really good, like
Yeah.
really good. And to know that I have the support of this community, not just in the Somatic Coaching Academy, like more proper, but within the laws as well.
Yeah.
The community of people that we build throughout the program is really invaluable because there's just so many wonderful conversations that we're able to be a part of that help kind of open up things that we otherwise wouldn't have if we were doing this work one on one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the transformation that I've seen in my own life, my ability to keep my nervous system more regulated, to be able to really lean on the laws to know what's true, what I can count on, what's not going to change.
Yeah.
I have a lot less fear these days than I think I've ever had. And
Mm.
that feels like freedom to me.
Totally. That's lovely. Thank you, Monica. I'm so happy for you. And you bring up a really important point. The laws program is a group program, and some people see it and go, I don't want to be in a group program. But it actually is a secret sauce to being able to accept our subconscious minds in a way that allow change. And we knew it ahead of time. I'll be honest, we knew it ahead of time. And it's still just been such a miraculous part of the program to watch the relationships unfold and to watch the vulnerability that group members feel safe enough to come to the group and to share. One of the group things we do is telling on ourselves, which is like, God, I can't believe that went through my head, or I can't believe I did that. So we can
Mhm.
accept change in a powerful way that feels more gentle than, that push
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing. Um,
Well, and I would say too, the one thing I would add is it's such an amazing opportunity to be a part of somebody else's journey too, like to witness the
yeah,
transformation that they're going through right alongside of you. There's a lot of connection that you build in that way, that I don't think I've ever experienced outside of the Somatic Coaching Academy. Like, you all do such a beautiful job of creating such a safe environment for people to show up exactly as they are without really any expectation, and that feels really safe.
yeah.
And I think it does allow an opportunity for people to open up and to be more vulnerable and to find that connection a lot more quickly than they otherwise would.
Thank you for that. It's something that we do pride ourselves about here at the Academy, and we feel like we're really good at. And the reality is that magic and beauty and freedom and awesomeness and success exist within all of us all the time. The question is, can we uncover it and reveal it? And that's, that safety and group dynamic allows the unfolding of that. And you're right, witnessing that within the group members also is just super inspiring. It's so good. So what's next for you, Monica?
Well, so I'm happy to report, and you already know this, that I did leave my corporate job at the end of September, to pursue my business full time. And it's been trying to find the right words. It feels like freedom, I think is the short version of how I would put that. And the beautiful thing too is I'm already finding myself that fear's coming back up again, but now
Yeah.
I know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel as scary. It doesn't feel like I don't know how. It doesn't feel like I'm doing it wrong. I'm like, no, I know I'm doing it wrong because I keep hitting the resistance walls. Like, oh, here's another one. Yeah. So I'm just going to continue to set intentions for myself coming into the new year for what I want to build and
Yeah.
how I want to show up in the world and what I want to call in. And I'm going to love whatever shows up. And I think that feels really freeing and exciting too to see what's going to show up.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I love that you're going to set your intentions and put it into motion again.
Yeah.
taking what you've learned and now putting it into motion again. I'm going to set my intentions. I know there's resistance that's going to show up. I'm actually interested to see what that's like. And then recognizing enlightened opportunities and just on you go.
Mhm.
That's great. I'll be honest, some people are interested in joining the Living the Laws program and they're nervous about spending the money.
Mhm.
So, what would you know the inside of our programs in a way that, like, I get it. If you don't know the inside, you might be
Yeah.
nervous. Like, I don't know if this is a good investment. So, from being on the inside, what can you say to people who are nervous about spending the money?
Yeah, I mean, of course you're nervous, right? You don't know what you don't know yet, and it's an investment. And I would say that you really have to look at what is it that you're missing? Like, where are you struggling? And do you feel like you can get there without help? And for me, the answer to that question was I need the support, I need the community, and I need the accountability piece as well.
Yeah.
Um, And I would say that for me, I used to live my life trying to figure out how I was going to do something before I said yes to it. I can tell you that that doesn't work. And that's not in alignment with the laws at
Right.
all. So I made the decision first to say yes to the Somatic Coaching Academy. It was the first time I'd ever done that in my life.
Yeah.
I had no idea how I was going to pay for it. And the universe ended up bringing an opportunity to me that allowed me to do it. Very
Yeah.
similar situation to when we said yes to the loss class. We weren't really 100% sure how we were going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And and once we said yes, we were able to kind of make that happen,
Yeah.
and the money became available. So
Right.
I think it's yes, there's going to be some fear, some trepidation, kind of in saying yes, and it can be a little scary, and you can do it anyway, right? Because this
Both.
community is the value that we have gotten this year out of this program for me will continue to pay dividends for years and years and years to come. It's not like a one and done kind of a thing. This is a lifelong study and a lifelong pursuit. And this program for me has created such a solid foundation that I can continue to build off of that I see value for the rest of my life from it, truly.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And it's
Mhm.
meant to be an ROI that keeps on giving year after year after year. Like you said, it's not just done when you're done. That's
Mhm.
part of the point. Um, Monica, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your experience. It helps so much to be able to see through the eyes of somebody who's gone through it and to hear some behind the scenes, so that people really understand what it's like on the inside. Monica, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ani. I appreciate you. I appreciate this community that you and Brian have built. Thank you for always having our back and for allowing us to show up exactly as we are, because it's not a small thing.
It's important and we love it. So thank you. Thanks so
Yep,
much.
you're welcome.